office, killed it. He was an assistant manager there, helped them have one of their best years ever, sold $50,000. Currently the number 5 branch manager in the nation. This summer he had a chance to train 4 10K fast starters. One of them at 15K that is currently here, I understand. So congratulations to you. Don't stop. Keep selling. And guys, I think that's so impressive because y'all got a chance to see his personal sales prowess and success through the push countdown. But he's someone that's been able to not just do it himself, but help and support other people. You know, for him, guys, he just said what he loves about the job is just the opportunity for growth. Growth through experiences, growth through people, the relationships, and just continuing that path of growth is what gets him excited and gets him motivated. So, to get a chance to talk about maximizing your future opportunity, let's bring up Stephen Hunt.
I'm excited to be here. SC2 is my favorite event of the year for obvious reasons. So, today we're going to talk about maximizing your future opportunity. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So, what if the effort and energy you put into training today and tomorrow could change your financial life, not for the next 2 to 5 years? It's not guaranteed, but I can show you who has done it. You may have heard that line in your first day of training. If you're a manager, you've probably said that line multiple times this summer as you run training each and every week. I first heard that line from my first manager, Will Shido. I also learned it from district manager Ethan Campbell and division manager Drew Frank. Today I'm going to say that line a little bit differently. I'm going to change it a little bit. What if the energy and effort you put into taking notes for the next 25 minutes would change not just your financial life, but every aspect of everything you do for the rest of your life? Now, I can't guarantee that, but I can show you who's done it. It's me. Have I reached my finish line, my end goal, my big dream? Of course not. There's always room to grow. Have I changed the way I run the race? Absolutely. When Stacy asked me to give this speech over the management opportunity and management training, I was like, yeah, totally, I can do that. I'd never done this before. I was like, totally, I got this. I was super scared, super nervous, but more so I was humbled. I thought back to my senior year of high school before I was in Cutco, who I was, what I did, what I wanted, my strengths, my dreams, my weaknesses, my fears, my mindset. If you told me back then that I would be here on this stage in front of you giving this speech, I would have said never in a million years. Now I stand before you as a top branch manager in the nation with over 4 10K fast starters this summer, my first summer. Kevin, Maria, Ben, and Sarah. My push history being 2 10K pushes, 1 $18,000 push, and a $30,000 push under my belt. I say this not to brag to you or to flaunt, but I say this because if I can do this, then you can do this too. So what is management? To give you a brief description if you don't know this already, a branch manager is someone who learns how to recruit, interview, train, manage, and develop representatives for their own office during the summer in between school. Now, a district manager is someone who does the same thing but year-round. Now, you're going to learn a lot more about the logistics and details in regards to management later. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is what is management about? Management, above all, is an opportunity for growth. I'm not that nervous. Today I'm going to tell you all about how I have grown through the management opportunity and tell you a little bit more about my story. So, obviously my name is Stephen Hunt. I was born in Kansas. Now I'm a Texas boy at heart. I remember whenever I was 5 years old, I remember thinking, I wish I was born in Texas because all the cool people come from Texas. I moved to Texas when I was 5, which is why I'm here today. Something you should know about me is I have an obsessive nature to things. What do I mean by that? I mean, whatever is most relevant right in front of me, that's what I'm all about. I'm all in. I love it. I'm obsessed My brother used to get mad at me because I used to be so obsessed. I wouldn't do anything but wear my boots, my jeans, my cowboy hat, my cap guns, and carry on my lasso until I was the age of 9. That was my thing. Like 3 years old to 9 years old, I wanted to be a cowboy. Whenever I get mad at my brother, I grab my lasso and I go rope him up for hog time.
Nice.
Whenever I was about the age of 10 to 13, I wanted to be Elvis Presley. He was charismatic. My dad, I had older parents. My dad saw him in concert and loved his music, so I wanted to be that. I was obsessed with that. From the age of 13 to 19, it was basketball, it was sports. I saw my first YouTube video of Michael Jordan, and I was like, I want to be him. I was obsessed. Now, I have 3 older siblings. I am the youngest, which is the best. Okay, so I'm blessed with 2 amazing parents. When I was 5 years old, my parents went bankrupt. My dad's restaurant he had invested everything into had failed. So we moved to Texas. I lived in a trailer park for 4 or 5 years, lived in a fixer-upper here and there, moved around a lot. Even though we didn't have much, it was still some of the best times of my life. My dad taught me about hard work and dedication. He would spend at least 10 hours a day, every day, working on what he was doing, and he wouldn't come home until he was done. Sometimes he wouldn't come home for dinner until after my brother and I had gone to bed, and that would make me sad because sometimes it would be days before I saw him because he was working so hard. Now my parents are doing just fine. They're both working at a Christian school in Lubbock, Texas. My dad is the Bible teacher, and my mom is the lunch lady, and everybody loves them. Yeah. They worked really hard to put me through high school. They taught me everything I know and have been some of my biggest supporters in everything I do. This is especially relevant with my experience with Cutco. Now, many of you might not know this, but I started the job alongside Gerardo Guerra, the district manager for Lubbock. If you don't know Gerardo, he'll be here tomorrow, then you'll get to know him. He's a very social guy. He's awesome, okay? Now, Gerardo and I started at the same time. He started about 3 weeks before I did. Will Scheider was our first manager. I started June 7th of 2019. Now, I want to talk about this for a minute because this is an incredible distinction to watch over time, and I'll talk about this. So, Cutco, this was my first real job. Before this, I would mow yards during the summer, work construction with my dad. Now, when I was hired with Cutco, I found out that this was a sales job. I almost quit just because I realized that this was a sales job. And in my previous experience through movies and TV shows and completely irrational examples, I thought that sales was all about cheating and tricking people into buying something that wasn't worth it, almost like a circus act. Now, of course, I went and talked to my dad and told him that I got this job, and he helped me to understand that sales does not have to be cheating or tricking or anything like that. It's all about the individual. So, in that moment, I decided to give it a try. In my fast start, I sold just over $5,000, and that was just luck. I didn't do anything the way Will told me to. I took what he had told me to do, and I did it my way. So what I had sold was just luck. Okay, that just goes to show how easy it is to sell Cutco. I was a below average representative. After my fast start, I went off the radar. I stopped coming to the office. I had no goals. I had no direction. I was just floating. I was that representative that you see like one time in the beginning of summer and you don't see again, but they didn't quit and you just don't know where they're at. That was me. Yeah. Now, Gerardo, on the other hand, he started 2 weeks before I did, 2 or 3 weeks before I did. Gerardo took what Will taught him, used it, applied it, and he was an 11K fast starter. So $11,000 in his first 10 days on the job. He then became an assistant manager and then became a top representative for the Lubbock office that summer. Now, because I did things my own way, it took me another month to sell my next $1,000. Now, of course, I needed money to pay for college, And I wasn't selling, so I wasn't making any money. So I went to Will and I said, hey Will, I don't feel like I'm making enough money. I don't want to quit because I don't quit things, but I don't know what else to do. How many of y'all have ever thought that before? I did. In fact, I walked into Will's office with my sample kit, ready to talk him into letting me go. I didn't want to quit because I'd never quit anything in my life, but I was ready to talk him into talking him into just telling me that I didn't have to do this anymore. Now, obviously, Will, being a great manager that he is, helped me realize that there was a correlation. By the way, you should write this down if you don't know this yet. There's a correlation between not reading the manual and not selling. Something I didn't understand. So he then challenged me to go after it the right way in SC2 of 2019. I had nothing to lose, so I said, all right, Will, we'll do it your way. In the next 17 days, I hit 30-30. I had my first $1,000 day in income. And for the push, I sold just under $18,000, being the number 17 rep in the entire competition, and I beat Gerardo. So what changed? I did my best effort, and I listened to my manager. Shocker, right? At SC2, I sat in the MIT meeting the next day, and the whole time I was thinking, yeah, this isn't going to be my career, so I don't want to be here. What's this about? Why should I'm not going to take notes. And I remember looking over, and 2 seats down next to me to my left was Gerardo. And Gerardo was writing down everything. Everything. He was vigorously taking notes and vigorously paying attention. And I was like, that's lame. I'm not going to do that. This is where Gerardo and I chose different paths. I chose to do my own thing, focus on college and basketball. I was barely able to pay for school. I passed most of my classes, and I was the same person the very next year as I was the day that I left SC2 in 2019. Gerardo, he decided to pursue management. He had 2 highly successful branches. He is now a top district manager in the nation, a national champion in our company, graduated college with honors, over $1 million in career sales, and he's my manager. Now, I could choose a better manager, but up to this point, which one of us grew the most? Who grew the most professionally and personally? Okay, you can say it was Gerardo, it's no secret. Okay, it's no secret. So, in 2020, I didn't have the discipline to sell Cutco again, especially in a virtual world. I tried to come back for SC2 and sell, and I worked for probably 3 days, and I told Will, I can't do this. So I went to work construction, because that's easier. Meanwhile, Gerardo was running the number 18 office in the entire nation his first year on a whole brand new virtual program. Our virtual program before COVID is not what it is today. A lot of you don't know that. This was brand new. Gerardo didn't get trained for the virtual program. He got trained for the normal stuff, and then he had to adapt. So he's running the number 18 office in the entire nation in his first year, and I can't work for more than 3 days. Who has grown more to that point? In 2021, before the summer, I was broke. I had $6 in my checking account and $1 in my savings account. I have a screenshot of May 7th, 2021, just to prove it. I took that screenshot because I knew that was going to change. But I drove for 2 weeks on an empty tank of gas. You know that little light that comes on? Yeah, that was my best friend for about 2 weeks. I was desperate to make money, desperate to make it fast. And I remember making $10,000 my first summer with Cutco, and I was like, that's my only option. That's my answer, that's what I gotta do. Now, at the same time, Gerardo got Lubbock as a branch territory in 2021, and that's where our worlds would align again. So before this, I decided I wanted to do Cutco again, and this time take my sales seriously. If I had worked really hard for 2 weeks during SC2 in 2019 and made $7,500, how much could I make if I worked hard all summer long? That's what I asked myself. So a week later, after I asked myself that question, Gerardo texted me and asked me, hey, have you ever thought about coming back to Cutco? I was like, nah, I'm good. No, I'm just kidding. I was like, yeah, of course, let's do it. And the rest is history. I sold $50,000 for that entire summer. Gerardo led our office to be the #1 branch office in the entire nation, winning the Silver Cup. And yet, after all of this, I still wasn't certain that I was interested in management. What I did know was that I wanted to have the growth that I had seen in Gerardo from 2019 to 2020 to 2021. I took a step back and looked at the big picture, and I realized that he had grown and learned and developed and improved 100 times more than what I had in just 2 years. I never even gave myself a chance. I didn't stay in Cutco long enough to let the opportunity grow me. So, a year ago tomorrow, in your seats, I was sitting there for my first time, and I said, why not? I'm gonna give it an honest try. Just like I said my first time whenever I started this job. I'm gonna give it an honest try. Now, fast forward to April 2022, I had gone to all the management meetings, I had prepped for branching just like everybody else. I had learned everything I needed to know to become a successful branch manager. Did I grow like Gerardo did by learning how to manage and how to be a successful manager? No. I still slept in every day till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, sometimes later in the afternoon. Why was that? Because much like my first experience in training with Will, what he taught me, I took it and did it my own way. So this management training, I did the exact same thing. I'm stubborn, sorry about that. I took what I was being taught and did it my own way. Obviously that wasn't working out for me. Was I prepared to take every advantage of the management opportunity? No. I ran 2 interviews a week at most, and maybe 1 day of training, and I thought I was working too hard. You managers in here might laugh at that. If you don't know, 2 interviews and 1 day of training, that's at most 10 hours of work a week. And I was like, man, I'm working too hard.
Goodness.
Again, I didn't use the opportunity, the information, and the tools that were given to me to grow. I didn't do that. Did I become the professional that I wanted to be by going to these meetings? No. Again, I would get ready for an interview about 5 to 10 minutes before the interview, and I would be wearing sweats and Crocs underneath the camera. Is that professional? Not at all. I wasn't taking advantage of the management teachings that they were giving me. I was doing it my way, much like I had done before. So, where and when do I reach this growth that everybody had talked so much about in management? My office opened on April 22nd, and my interviews were empty. Now, I have to apologize to Stacy here. I never told him about this, so I'm going to spill the beans a little bit. After my office had opened, my interviews were empty for the most part, but I woke up one day about 1 o'clock, and I had missed a text from Stacy saying, hey Steven, you have 1 person in your interview today. Congrats, let's get this summer off to a great start. Now that interview was at 12:30, 30 minutes before I woke up. Now I texted Stacy, I said, sorry, it was a no-show. Now, I'm not advocating lying. I didn't lie, it was a no-show. I just tell them that I didn't show.
Oh my gosh.
Now you can imagine the disappointment and shame I felt myself. I had done all this work to build up to this moment, and I failed. It was in that moment that it hit me, I am in control of my results. No one was going to call me if I didn't show up to the office on time. Nobody was going to call me if I missed an interview. Nobody was going to call me if I didn't want to work that day, if I didn't want to recruit or run training this week. It was all on me. This was my growth opportunity. I could choose to do what I had done before, remain comfortable, focus on other things, make excuses, or I could step up and learn. As my summer progressed, I realized that all the growth opportunities that I had overlooked in management training. Whenever I would shadow Gerardo in trainings and interviews, I would mostly pay attention. I wouldn't take notes because, I've seen him do it a couple of times. I'm good. I know how to do it. During management meetings, I took some notes, not as much as I nearly could, and if I missed a meeting, I'd watch most of the recording. It was in that moment that I realized I wish I had really paid attention during my management trainings, and I wish I had taken more notes because I needed that knowledge in my management debut to be successful. So who am I now? My mentality and my perspective has changed dramatically. At SC1 this year in June, a friend of mine from high school asked me, hey, have you made more money this year or last year as a sales representative? The answer was, I made a little bit more money last year, up to that point. He then asked me, well, do you work more this year or do you work more last year? I was like, I work way more this year. He then asked me, so is it worth it? So I paused for a minute to think about it, because obviously in your head you're thinking, okay, working more, making less, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. The next words that came out of my mouth are my motto and my forever outlook on everything growth opportunity. I said this, I can't imagine doing something better with my time right now than management. So yes, it is very much worth it. Now, why was that my conclusion? I realized that in that moment, I had shifted my mindset from working for money to working for growth. Brian Carter says this in a great Fast Start video when you're learning how to build rapport. He says, money is a secondary value of work. It's who you are, it's what you become that is the true reward. A book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Lesson number 1 is that the rich don't work for money. The rich don't work for money. My value as a person has increased times 10 because of my experience as a manager, going through management training, and what I've done. Now, I could have sold as a normal sales representative for the entire summer instead of management. Maybe I'd make more money. Probably not, to be honest. I probably wouldn't have made more money. But either way, I would have been the exact same person as I was whenever I left SC2 in 2019. 2.5, 3 years later, 4 years later, I'd be the same person. Instead of chasing money, I chased growth. So there's a story from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad that talks about how most people live in both fear and greed. The fear of being without money motivates the people to work hard. Then once they get that money, it's greed or desire that makes them think, oh, what can I buy to help me get through this week? And they do it over again every week. That's called the rat race. Wake up, go to work, pay bills. Now in my management experience, I broke out of this mentality. Now I work for growth, lessons, improvement. The first step is to be honest with yourself about how you feel. People will let the fear of not having money control their emotions, and so they react. Then once they get some money, they get a nice big paycheck, that greed comes back, and now they want to spend it on whatever's going to get them through the week, and repeat. So how did management change that for me? What did I do differently? Now, every manager here was probably at their office every day this summer. I know I was. I was in the office every single day, 7 days a week. I did recruiting, I did interviews, I did training, I did PDI, and so did every other manager in here. So what sets me apart? In my management experience, I learned a lot. And here's a few things that I did differently that you should 100% write down. First thing, be intentional. This means to do whatever you do to your best ability. If you're doing demonstrations, don't do demos just to do demos. Do demos to do your best demo ever. If you're running interviews, don't run an interview just to run an interview. Do an interview to do your best interview ever. If you're running training, I know you're tired. I ran training every week this summer. I know you're tired, but you better come to training well rested and do your best training you've ever done. Now, PDI, we all know that as personal daily interaction. That was the moment that the summer changed for me. After SC1 this summer in June, I realized that at SC1, my office, our Midland office, had become the #1 new office for the competition. And I came home that day and I was like, how did that happen? I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing, but I'm #1. Why? How does that make that doesn't make any sense. The math didn't line up. Then I realized that it was because of Gerardo's he is incredibly intentional. It's because of everything he does is intentional. That rubbed off on me, so I was being accidentally intentional. It's just how I was doing things, because that's how Gerardo had done it.
Right.
So it was in that moment that I realized so I achieved this by being accidentally intentional. What could I do if I was intentionally intentional? So that day I called every single one of my representatives, and I talked to probably 6 of my representatives, talked to them for a total of 4 hours. And every time I call them, I say, hey, how's it going? They say, oh, I got a couple demos today or tomorrow or this week. I said, I don't want to talk about Cutco, that's all I do. What's your favorite movie? If I'm supposed to develop and lead a team to be one of the best teams in the nation, I should know what their favorite snack is. I should know their favorite movie. Otherwise, I'm not being intentional. Second thing, be present. Your reps know if you're slacking off. There are no secrets in leadership. So give it your all every day. Don't be on your phone. Don't be late. Don't be daydreaming. Your representatives can feel it and can see it. So be present each and every day. Third thing, be grateful. You have the opportunity to run a business at a young age and get that experience to use on your resume and the skills that you learn for the rest of your life. An engineering friend of mine, the smartest guy I know, he told me a month ago he's going to have to go through 4 more years of work experience with a company that he's already done 3 years of internship during the summer. Now he's going to graduate this year. He's going to have to go through 4 more years of actual work experience before he starts getting paid what he actually deserves. He said to me, it's what you're doing that really matters. It's what you're doing that employers care about. It's what you're doing that makes a difference. This is the smartest guy I know. So have a success-seeking mindset. If you're going to be grateful, you better be positive. Look for success. Every day, name reasons why you can succeed and 3 things that you can be grateful for. Think of 3 things right now. It's not that hard. Think of 3 things right now. Name them in your head. I'll go right here. My legs. I'm grateful for my legs because I was able to walk up on the stage. I'm able to stand here in front of you and give a speech, and afterwards, I'm going to walk down the stage and go back to my seat. Not everybody can say that they can do that. I'm also grateful for Gerardo and Stacy and Damien and every other manager here in the Southwest region. They've taught me everything I know about management. And I'm grateful for my team. They work really hard every day, even if they don't feel like it. It's easy to find things to be grateful for. You just have to try. Lastly, be a leader. Zig Ziglar says, if you help enough people get what they want out of life, they will help you get what you want out of life. But the order matters. The moment I started leading for the success of my people was the moment that everything changed. The reward is seeing their success, and then my success is just a gift. That's a bonus. It's not about the money, it's not about the knives, it's not about the sales. It's about creating an environment for your people to reach their goals. That's when they succeed. And when they succeed, you succeed, but never you first. This is how I have 4 10K fast servers this summer. As you've experienced through push, accomplishments follow activity, never the other way around. So focus on doing the actions the right way, being intentional. So then you'll see some success. Now, some of you might be sitting here thinking, where's the money? Show me the money. When and where do I get paid? It's only after the actions. Your first few months about management are about reinvesting back into your business. Your last few months are where you're going to make 90% of your income as a manager, but you can't take off the first 2 months. As a branch manager, you make 50% in the month of July, August, and September, plus your office earnings. So is it worth the wait? Since being a manager, I've opened and invested into a Roth IRA, multiple different investing accounts. I have $0 in college debt, and I've saved enough money for my dream trip to Italy. So yes, it's very much worth it. Now, growth in the management opportunity looks like this. I'm almost done. Chelsea talked about it as watering bamboo. I talk about it as a jar of dirt with a seed. Okay? Person A takes this pot of dirt with a seed, waters it occasionally, makes sure it has sunlight at least once a week, and then sometimes takes care of it. After about 4 weeks, there's nothing. So person A just throws it away and says, all that work was for nothing. Person B takes the pot of dirt with the seed and waters it every day, makes sure it has sunlight every day, makes sure to take care of it the best that they can, and after 4 weeks, there's nothing. But they keep taking care of the plant, and after 6 weeks, it turns into the most beautiful flower they've ever seen. This is what true growth looks like. So to close here, if you were sitting here thinking, I might not be fit for the management opportunity, Cutco isn't my career, so why should I care? This isn't for me. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to be a manager. What if I'm not good enough? I asked those questions last year in your seat. I thought the exact same thing. The point of that to say is to don't be afraid to try. Give it an honest try like I did. I'm here to tell you that there's no way to fail if you try. Because if you try, you will either succeed or you will learn. And if you learn, then you succeed. So, I encourage you to go after the management opportunity. It very well could turn you into the professional that you always wanted to be. I've learned so much this summer, my first experience, and I can only imagine what a second summer of branching with Cutco would look like. I'm going to end off with this quote, but before I say this quote, if there's one thing that you take about management from what I say today, it's this. You are never too big and never too small to help the person that needs you. And to end off with a quote, success is not determined by the goals you achieve, but by the mountains you overcome. Thank you.